everybody, welcome to the Gov Shack. So happy to have you guys with me. A little bit late today, I know. Usually I am on at noon, but today I had to push some stuff off only because crazy stuff was happening, but crazy good stuff. So I'm out and about, running around, trying to make things happen, as you know. Traveling this entire last weekend, traveling again coming up this weekend. So things are happening with the campaign. I'm so glad you guys are here supporting it and supporting the campaign. I will be, for those of you who don't know, I will be out again this weekend. I know I punish myself, and it's like every single weekend I keep punishing myself, but that's what it takes to make this happen. If you are going to be running around New York State, please come out and see me. Western New York, heavy push on Western New York this time. This Friday, as in 2 days from now, I will be in Binghamton, New York at 1 p.m. at the Belmar Pub and Grill. At 1 p.m., 6 p.m., I'll be at Randy's Fireside at 1644 Haskell Road in Olean, New York. Saturday, December 6th, 10 a.m., I will be at the Brothers Restaurant and Bar at 475 Ellicott in Buffalo, New York. Yes, all in Buffalo. This time of year, am I crazy? Yeah, but it is Saturday, not Sunday. I know better than to go to Buffalo during the day on Sunday. We all know that no one's coming to see me at that point, right? They're all going to be at the Buffalo's game. I got it. It's fine. The point being, I'm in Buffalo at 10 a.m., so not as bad. That's for sure. So, of course, also 2:30 at the Village House in Albion, and then 7 p.m. at Scoville's Grill in Dansville, New York. So heading that whole western area, heading down towards, maybe Finger Lakes. I'll be in Waterloo at the Ashley Lynn Winery at 10 a.m. on Sunday, and the Ithaca Ale House, 1 p.m. On Sunday. So if you want to come by and see me, please come by. Remember, all my events are free. Just come by and show up, talk to me. Happy to have the chat. I'll have some merch there if you want to pick up a shirt. Please come pick up a shirt, maybe a bumper sticker, maybe maybe a lawn sign, whatever I have. So if I have some of those things, come on by, pick those up if you like. Love to have you. And again, here's the best part. I've done over 700 of these events across New York State, all live, no notes. What you see is what you get. The person you hear talking is the person you get. That's what matters. So I have yapped away. We'll see what happens. The Texas Spy story over on Rumble says, going to all these restaurants during fast must suck. Well, here's the issue. I generally don't fast during those times. I will very often fast before and after. Those of you know, I do fast often. I try to fast. I try to do intermittent fasting. I can't always do it depending upon my schedule. Before I was running, I did it very often. Almost every day, I only ate at like 12:30 and 5:30 in that area. And that was about 6 hours that I would just sit and eat only that time. And I would not eat outside of that. I was kind of doing 18-6 intermittent fasting for most of my days. But when you start running for office, it becomes tougher because my schedule is a disaster now. It's all over the place. Phone calls, meetings, travel, it's all over the place. So it's harder to do. So I don't do intermittent as much. So now I do like multiple days. I just recently fasted for 2 days. I did 1 meal a day. So I fasted for 24 hours, a couple last week. So I'll do that kind of fasting now. So if I'm going to travel during the week, I want to support those places. So I will buy something at every place. I ask you, right? You know my view. I can't point my finger at you until I point my finger at me first. And I really like pointing my finger at you. I do, which means I have to point my finger at me a lot. So if I'm going to sit here and say, hey, come to my event and buy something, then I kind of got to go buy something myself. So I do. So that's why when I'm traveling, I don't fast. I only fast when I'm done. So often I'll go out for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, very common. I'll often fast Monday and Tuesday. Or 2 days before, I'll fast, Tuesday and Wednesday before, something like that. So I will fast some days before do that. So that's what I try to do. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. I appreciate you. I appreciate you thinking about me. I do appreciate that. So yes, those of you who know that I fast. So by the way, if you know that you're gonna like this, and I know you think you are, do me a favor, click the button known as like. It does matter. Click that like button. Repost it someplace. As I've told many of you, because I'm running now, I have had to split everything. So Sharpe Way is on one side, Larry Sharpe for Government is on the other side. The two separate issues. Because of that, It cuts my marketing. It cuts my viewership. It cuts everything in half. That's a pain. So you see a lot of my viewership is down on both sides, which sucks. I know, but that's how it has to be. Legal issues. So I have to ask you even more for you to like and share to the best of your ability. And make sure you're subscribing to this channel or this page, whatever you're watching this on, to keep this growing too. So I know I keep bugging you. It's because I had to split it and it trashes my marketing. So it is what it is. I don't feel sorry for me. I chose this. This is my decision. I chose this, but help out if you can by clicking those buttons, sharing and reposting. It does matter. What did I want to talk about today? What I wanted to bring up today was the idea of getting the punishing landlords in New York State. Now, why would someone want to punish landlords? Well, in theory, you'd punish them because they're bad landlords and they're harming your tenants. Okay, that makes sense in theory. I get the concept behind that. But there's another piece here. The other idea is so that tenants will get better service. Okay, also I get the concept behind that. But the problem becomes, what happens when you have a world where you've decided that the landlords can't raise rents? And then because of that, they can't put more units on the market. And therefore, they have to have higher rents on the ones they can do. And then at one point, they become so bad that they're basically forced to become, and I'm not making this up, they're basically forced to become slumlords. So the system forces them to become slumlords. And then after that, the system then punishes them for being slumlords. And I know some of you are going to say, Larry, stop it. These landlords are greedy landlords, and they're trying to hammer you. Are they greedy landlords? Of course. But most of those greedy landlords are the big boys. They have 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 5,000 units. That's true. Many of them have that. That's true. And they charge very high rents, $9,000, $8,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month. I'm not joking. You can rent an apartment in New York City, Manhattan, for $20,000 a month. I'm not joking. Yeah, those guys are greedy. But do you think the average guy whose family came from Italy, or whose family came from Ireland, or his family came from Greece and bought one building over the course of 30 years they saved up, that guy's just greedy? He's just greedy? Well, you find some, yeah. Most wind up being in trouble. Most wind up struggling. And that's the issue. And now you own 2 or 3 buildings. Again, you start struggling. Why? Because you cannot raise your rents, which means you can't put units on the market. Do you really think that these people want? Now, again, will you find a person who fits this mold? Of course you will. But do you think the majority of landlords in New York City are like, I can't wait to be a slumlord. I can't wait to get fines and fees and be embarrassed on TV. You think that's what they want? Of course not. They get themselves stuck in a spot where they can't get out. That's what actually winds up happening. But you know who's the biggest slumlord in the entire state? NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority. Biggest slumlord in the entire state. And what does Mr. Mamdani wants to do? He wants to make sure we make them bigger. I wish I was joking. He wants to make the biggest slumlord in New York City bigger. That's what he would like. Let's reward them, give them more money, and make it bigger. That's what he would like to do. Now, I'm kind of joking, but I'm kind of not. Why? If you want the tenants, the landlords to help tenants, what must you do? And I'm not joking on this. You have to do a bailout for the landlords. Wait a minute, Larry. Didn't you just tell me that Mamdani is all about punishing landlords? I did. Didn't Mamdani literally say he's going to punish landlords? He did. What do you mean a bailout? Yeah. He's going to have to give, I'm not joking because of what's happened recently, he is going to have to give landlords in New York City about $1 billion to $1.5 billion bailout. Taxpayer dollars given to landlords because he's going to punish them. What? Yeah. Because they can't do anything. And as I told you before, I brought this up in the past. Nobody wants these buildings because they're in such disrepair. So the landlord says, I don't want this building anymore. The city won't let me raise the rents. I'm just taking fines and fees. Bank, take the building. Just take it. I don't want it. It's nothing but a loss for me. Take the building. And the bank goes, I don't want that hunk of shit. I can't afford it either. Nobody can. It's a garbage building. Just to pay the fines and fees would be too much. I don't want it either. No, you keep it. He's like, I can't afford it. I'm not going to pay your mortgage. I'm not going to pay anything. I cannot do it. Done. I'll declare bankruptcy then. Take the goddamn thing. He's like, don't declare bankruptcy because then I have to take the house. I don't want it. Well, here's the problem. If Mamdani takes all these places, it will cost him billions of dollars to fix them. Why? Because of our system that put them all billions of dollars in debt. So he has a couple of options. Option one, take the properties, right? Give them to the bank. Bank doesn't want them. What do we have to do? Bail the bank out. So he can bail the bank out if he wants to. That's option one. Bail out the banks. Boy, does that go well. That's socialism, bailing out banks. Option one. Option two, city takes them. Awesome. Then the city has to pay to fix them up. Billions upon billions of dollars. He'll do that because if he does that, that will allow him to give out jobs, which I'll tell you, that's also what they want to do is give out jobs. So he'll give out union jobs to do that. Of course, $3 billion. If it's one, it's now $3 billion because the union mobsters, they'll take their cut. All the city agents will take their cut, and it'll take 4 times as long to fix. So it's $3 billion instead. Or he can just write a check to the landlords who he's going to punish for about $1.5 billion. Yes. So with this wonderful plan Mamdani has, what it really means is bailout for somebody. So he's either going to just go write a check to the landlords because the banks say they don't want it, or he'll write a check to the banks to bail them out, and then they'll have to fix it, but they'll get a check from the government to fix it, or he'll just take it, and then the government will have to fix it. Here's the problem. The government doesn't have infrastructure to fix it either. So now they have to hire a bunch of people, so more jobs. This is what we're looking at. Here's the actual answer. But Larry, Mr. Wise Guy, you're talking all this trash. What's the answer? I'm going to tell you the answer. We saw it already in 2 places. Place number 1, Texas. Place number 2, Argentina. Both of those work. Number 1, Texas. Let local people decide what they want. Get rid of this stupid zoning. Texas has no zoning. Let local people decide what they want to have in their own areas. All good. Do that. Do that. There'll be some rules and regulations. There'll be some, but it won't be zoning. Make it happen. Well, how do I know this? Houston is a massive city. Massive in many ways. It's about the 3rd or 4th largest city. I forgot. It's top 5. It's always top 5. Whatever it is. It's top 5 cities in one of the top 5 cities in New York. In America. They don't have the housing problem we have. They don't have the homelessness problem that we have. They don't have the rental problem that we have. Number 1. Number 2, Argentina. End all price controls on rent. All rent control. End all of it immediately. Just end it. It is unconstitutional. Always has been. And never has worked ever in the history of history. It's never worked ever. End it. Oh my God, but if you end rent control, the greedy landlords will raise the rent to the roof. Okay. Well, in theory, that should have worked in Argentina. It didn't. What actually happened? Rents came down 30%, up to 40%, depending upon how you calculate it, in 1 year. And there was an increase in number of available units of 180%. If that happened in New York City, rents would come down. And then, of course, people go, rents never come down. Utter lie, total horseshit, happens all the time. It's happening in Florida right now. Rents do come down. It is literally supply and demand. That's how it works. Not just one time, all the time. This is how it actually begins to work. If we do this, it can work. I bring this up constantly. There's a way of lowering the rents. And it can happen within a year. Within 1 year, you will see it happen. Now, why does it take some time? Because leases run out, right? If I have a lease for whatever, $3,000 a month or whatever my lease is, and now my lease, I'm gonna pay $3,000 a month, even though prices are coming down, I have to keep my lease for the next year, right? However long my lease is. Now my lease is up. So now my landlord goes, I'm gonna raise your rent at $3,500. I go, no, you're not. Yeah, I am. No, you're not. Because I can get the same thing now down the road in the same neighborhood for $2,700. You're not gonna raise my rent. And he goes, I'm gonna raise it. Okay, great, I'll move. And he moves. No one moves in because they can get that place. He lowers his rent. That's how that works every single time. It takes a year before it happens as obviously, right? What will wind up happening is leases change and shift. That will also happen commercial. That's happening already. That's happening already, right? You see it commercially. A guy just goes, hey, and he just breaks his lease. The commercial guy goes, yeah, I know I'm paying $14,000 a month. I'm going to stop. Starting next month, I'm going to pay 12. Landlord says, no, you have a lease. Sue me. I'm just not going to pay. I don't want to sue you. I know you don't. Because I can just leave and go to another place. So I'm going to pay 12. That stuff's happening right now. I'm just not going to pay it. I'm going to pay 12. I'm writing you a check for 12. You want to sue me for the 2? Sue me for the 2. Good luck. I'm not paying it. I'm paying 12 because all the rent's coming down. You can't justify it. I'm just doing 12. I have a contract. I'll sue. See you in court, asshole. I'm paying you 12. That happens all the time. Landlord goes, you're right. I'll shut up. Takes the 12. That happens all the time. Right now that's happening. So the rent does go down. It will go down. And we'll see how that works. I'm saying this because I want you to understand you're not going to hear any other candidate tell you how it actually works. They don't. They will just have a program or they'll yell other guy bad. I'm telling you what we can actually do that will actually begin to work. Will it take time? Yes. About a year. Again, how do I know that? Argentina has shown us this, right? Nothing I'm telling you hasn't been done before. Nothing I'm telling you isn't just something I made up, right? It's all been done before. That piece I want to bring up. So let me grab a couple comments before I move on. I have a couple of pieces I want to bring up. I hope you guys are enjoying the content as always. So Phil says Waterloo. Yes, I will be in Waterloo. That's correct, but not that Waterloo. Not that one. So, all righty. Let's see here. Mike Vosenhouse. Belmar has great burgers. Used to live a block from there. I remember you used to live in Binghamton. That's right. Yes, absolutely. When I first met Mike, he was living in Binghamton. That's true. Absolutely. Yes. All righty. Sam has been to many of my events. He goes, your live events are electric. Thank you, my friend. Guys, show up. It can be challenging to get people in the afternoon. So come on by in the afternoon because it can be challenging. The idea of a Friday afternoon can be challenging because people often work and such, which is why I do it during lunchtime, hoping people can come for half an hour here, half an hour there for lunch. Or maybe if you're lucky, you can take a half day off. If you can, I don't know if some of you can. If you're in that spot, 1 p.m. on Friday in Binghamton is the hope that I can do that. And Binghamton's when it comes to a city, it's a city in upstate New York. So hopefully there's a lot of people around. I can hope for that. And it is a nice place. So yes, thank you for that. All righty. Missy says, SEAL Team Sharpe needs you. She is right. Thank you, Missy. Missy is correct. If you guys want to help out, do me a favor. Heading over to LarrySharpe.com/volunteer so you can be a warrior for me. I need you to be a social media warrior. The meme wars are real. And I fought in the meme wars at 18 and 22. They were tough. Join me this time. We do need that. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Missy. Thank you very much. All right, let me grab some more of these. All right, 99 says, Larry, how do we reconcile our free market industries where deception is so common, the average person doesn't know what they're buying anymore? This is very challenging. What I always talk about is the concept of transparency. And you're right, we require more transparency. But that right now for many people, and I think where you're going with that, is often it's almost a buzzword, right? It's almost a buzzword. It's like people just say we need more transparency and they don't have any answers for it. What I'm going to say, one of the things that I like about this is you can use the blockchain to assist with transparency. I think that's one of the best things you can do. The more of us who decide that we want transparency through the blockchain, the more business will have to respond to that, right? So I think that's piece one. But the second piece, and this is a piece that's crazy, more ownership. More ownership in local communities, more ownership in local companies. And what does that mean? When the people own it, right, more people owning it, they care more. Those people become vendors. Those companies become customers, and they will demand it. Companies are deceptive because it makes sense for them, right? Short-term thinking. There's two reasons why people become deceptive. Two major reasons. I mean, there's others, but two major reasons. Number one, the system encourages it, right? So it's short-term thinking. Hey, I want to have a short-term gain, so I will lie for a short-term gain, right? That's option one. And for short-term, lying often works. I know it sounds hard, but it does. Long-term, it usually hurts you, but short-term, it can work. But the second piece is, and I use this all the time in business, when you demand perfection, you get deception because people aren't perfect. So they will lie and pretend they're perfect. That's how that works. So anytime a system has things like, as an example, zero tolerance this, zero tolerance that, you're begging people out of you. You're just begging. When the punishment becomes so severe, that punishment is so severe that it's catastrophic, you can't recover. You encourage deception, right? You want punishment that they learn a lesson but aren't devastated. If you devastate people, they just lie because If I tell the truth, I'm finished. So I'll just lie. I'll gamble. If I get caught, I'm finished. If I don't get caught and I tell the truth, I'm finished. The only way I'm not finished is if I lie and don't get caught. So I'll lie and hope I don't get caught. And that sounds horrible, but deception is very often a part of the system. That's part of it. Will there be people who are bad and lie? Of course. But reality is there are very few people who will do it without that kind of system. So we change the system, and we make it to where it is encouraged for people to not be, to be transparent. The more transparent you are, the better. Blockchain's one, localization is another, but something else, calling people out. And as silly as that sounds, and you see it more and more, when you start seeing that people are out there saying, no, this is what's in it, this is how it works, people are going to change their attitudes. You see it with things like grass-fed beef versus grass-finished beef, or versus high USDA beef. You start seeing people begin to act. Sadly, 99, that's not 5 minutes. That's years. I wish it was 5 minutes. It's years. It's years of changing culture, of changing what happens. So I think that helps. So anyway, all righty. I hope that answered your question at least. So that was kind of interesting. I do appreciate that. Let me grab some more of these if I can. All righty. Phil says rent is too damn high. True. Osmond says the right rent-to-own scheme would work this problem, in my opinion. I agree completely. With the next piece, I go back to ownership. This kind of goes back to what I was just talking about. The more ownership we have, the better, right? The more ownership we have, the better. Why? When people own, they care more. And that may sound trite. It's just true. If you look at neighborhoods where people are renters, what winds up happening is if things go bad, they just move away. They don't try to fix it. When people own, they try to fix. So, and I think ownership is a key. How can we do that? Well, we can. I think one of the best ways we can do this is by incentivizing developers to do rent to own. As you said, the best rent to open, the rent to own scheme. And that scheme would be something like, as an example, if a developer creates a building with apartments, or they build out a neighborhood in a suburban area, whatever, if they make it rent to own versus just rent, right? If they want to make it, if they're just going to build the houses to own, good. But if they're going to go rental, to make it rent to own, when they transfer it, right, no tax. Now, their exit strategy is very often to sell. That's a common thing. Developers sell. Sometimes they may retain one building, or they may just make it rental and they all make money, whatever the case may be. But if we make it rent to own, developers, right, rent to own, you can make it rent to co-op, rent to own, whatever. You pick, right, whatever. I don't mind making a co-op building if you want. Whatever's going to work. A condo, whatever's going to work. Either of those things. And now when they get rid of it, their tax burden is zero. You might go, Larry, we're losing money on taxes. True, you're not wrong. You're rewarding these rich people for making buildings. Yes, because they're giving them away, not giving them, but they're getting people to own them, not just keep rental properties forever. So they're getting a short-term burst in cash, right, that they're getting now, instead of sitting there and renting forever. Yes, short-term burst in cash. They take that cash, do something else with it. So if you make that style happen in New York State, I think you get more people doing rent to own. Now, add on top of this, allowing for tiny houses. Why do tiny houses matter? Tiny houses meaning, very simple houses that are basically studio houses, right? Very small. Why would that matter, Larry? Who wants to live in those things? Some people would want to, right? And there's several groups who'd want to. Group number one, with people who've been homeless for a long time. If people have been homeless for a long time, very often they become accustomed to being in small, cramped areas. They're accustomed to that. They actually feel safer there. They feel better. That group of people, that specific cohort, would be happy in tiny houses. So you solve a portion of the homelessness issue can be solved with that. And particularly if you make that a rent to own by percentage of income. As I mentioned before, 1/3 of your income is what it costs, whatever that is, right? 1/3 of your income. You do that, you're changing things, right? You could have government supplement that in theory, or assist in some way if it's going for people who are homeless. No worries, right? You can make that happen if you wanted to. All of a sudden, now that starts happening, and that cohort can be taken care of. But not just that. Young people who just don't want to live at home and want to build some equity. So if I'm a youngster and I'm 22, 23, 24, I can live with my parents if I want to. Good for you if you want to. I could try to go out and get a place to rent. I'll need 3 or 4 roommates probably, maybe 2 or 3 if I'm lucky, depending on where I live. I'll get roommates. We'll just pay a bunch of rent and we'll share the space anyway. Or I can get a tiny home. I'm now on my own at least. I'm building credit because I'm paying my rent. So I'm doing it. But now I'm doing rent to own, which means a part of that home I will own. So I am building equity. So when I leave the tiny home, as I leave, I literally have something. I'm leaving with a check. It may be a small check, but it's a check versus me owing money when I move out. I can afford to move, right? And there's the key. People who are savvy and wealthy, what they wind up doing is that whatever time they move, they have a check because they're not renting. So they can afford to move. Why? They're getting some form of check. Now, again, tiny house wouldn't be a big check, but any check's better than zero. Any check's better than having nothing. And you've built some equity, you've built some credit. Now you're 23, 24, 25. You basically had a tiny house. It's small. And if you got a nice little girlfriend, boyfriend, maybe you had some fun there because you were alone. Good for you on top of that. I hope you are. If not, say you didn't get a girlfriend or boyfriend, no worries. You built some equity. You can now get to the next level. And credit, equity and credit you built. What does that mean? You can now at 24, 25, 26, buy a bigger house. 26, 27, 28, buy a house for your family, if the case may be. Doesn't happen now. The average new family, the average home buyer is now like 60. The average first-time home buyer is like 40. So that isn't happening anymore. Add tiny homes into this, rent to own, that comes down because I'm building equity and credit at a younger age. By the time I'm 30, I can actually buy some kind of house, right? It can actually happen. Now take that over those course of those years, add my other things I mentioned, where now I'm actually just building things because I don't have all this damn zoning and I'm not ending rent control. So I can actually put more units on the market. So now rental comes down. Therefore, housing comes down in general, right? And people always tell me housing never comes down because greedy landlords. That's insanely wrong and just ignorant. They do come down. Again, seeing it in Florida right now, housing is coming down everywhere. Rental and buying, all prices coming down. Prices will come down. Now it's 3-4 years later. You're 22 now. By the time you're 30, you can buy a house. Right now, you can't. Right now, you can't. Right? So, yeah, I think you're right. Rent to own is a good idea. Transparency is a good idea. I think all of those work. So, yes. Phil says, you could theoretically have a nonprofit developer and let people buy the units at a lower price. Yes, but why? Yes, but why? You'd have to have someone who would have a reason. And here's my why. The why, I think, has to be based upon specific communities. You could do that, but say, for example, as I'm talking about it, maybe we have something like what we see right now in the Bronx, New York right now for veterans, or maybe single moms, or maybe former addicts. So if you had literally a community that would work. Why? Because generally speaking, charities work best when they're focused. That's general rule. They tend to work best when they're focused. Also, because people tend to care about certain communities that affect them, right? I'm a veteran. I care about veterans. Maybe if you were a single mom, you might care about single mom. Maybe if you're raised by a single mom, you might care about single moms. If you had an addict in your life, you might care about addicts, right? Whatever. If you had mental illness in your life, you might care about mental illness. Whatever the case may be, right? You might care about that thing. So you would be happy to give to it, to support it. And it's supporting that community. Other thing that's good about that is those communities tend to know how to support themselves, and they tend to stay in those communities after they've recovered from the problem. What I mean by that, the best person who can help you with your problem is someone who's been through your problem. Those of you who had addiction in your life know the best people to fix addicts are former addicts because they know all the BS because they were doing it themselves. Right? The single mom who was out there doing things she shouldn't have been doing, who's the best person to square her away? Someone who's been doing that. Yes, exactly. So all those things. Absolutely. So yeah, I think you could do it theoretically, but I think it has to be based upon a specific community. Then yes. I think then yes. If this is a specific community, I would say yes. So, all righty here. Let me grab this if I can. All righty. Missy says, we have sweatshirts, tees, mugs, buttons, etc. for free with your donation. True. Yes. So if you want to pick up something, do me a favor. Head over to LarrySharpe.com/shop. You can pick up a shirt, a hoodie, bumper sticker, mug, button, whatever you like. Go ahead. Donate and you get it for free. Larry, am I buying it? No, because then I'd have to pay sales tax. So no, you are not buying it. You are donating and getting a gift. Don't get me in trouble. You are not buying it. You are donating and getting a gift for your donation. Don't get me in trouble. So yes, that is correct. You can pick those up if you like. Please do so. I appreciate it. And of course, look, if you just want to donate, just donate. I appreciate it. LarrySharpe.com/donate. Look, I talk about this idea of me getting matching funds. Matching funds is critical. Matching funds in New York State means that I will be getting literally millions of dollars. Mamdani won New York City because New York City gave him $12 million. Well, New York State can give me that kind of money too. I'm not joking. Not joking. I raise $2 million from New Yorkers, I'll get $12 million. I'm not joking. If I get $12 million, I'm the governor of New York. That's it. If I get $3 or $4 million, that's a lot. Just that, I'm on a debate stage, and everything you're hearing now becomes mainstream. Everything you're hearing now becomes mainstream if I make matching funds. How do I do that? You guys have to let people know I'm doing this. If you've already donated, ask other people to. If somebody owes you some money, say, hey, take $5 of what you owe me and give to Larry Sharpe. Do that. Someone owes you money. You owe me $20. Give me 15, give Larry Sharpe 5. Yes. You owe me $100. Give me 75, give Larry Sharpe $25. Yes, do that. Get someone else, because I need multiple donors. I don't just need $500,000. I also need 5,000 donors. So I need a number of donors. So if you can, get your friends to donate. Go ahead. It's important. It does matter. Please do so. It's very important. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Missy is correct yet again. All right. I'm going to grab some more of these if I can. So many. Ombudsman says, Larry always has the best ideas. And yes, no tax on these transfers will work naturally. Yes. You know, you want to shift incentives, right, into a place that makes sense, right? You want to shift incentives. You want to get people to feel like, hey, this can actually work. It makes sense for me. People tend to act, with an incentive. I was talking to someone. What was that? I forgot who I was talking to. It was about, now I've forgotten. I was talking about working. I was talking about single moms of 2 kids. What was I talking about this? Anyway, I have so many conversations I forget about how some people are often angry at that single mom, right? Oh, see, why is she, on the dole taking money? We've made a system to where if she goes to work, she literally sees her kids less and makes less money. Why would she go to work? We've made a system to where it makes sense for her to not go to work. She will get more money and see her kids more. She's not lazy. She's smart. We've made a system to where that makes sense. Let's change that system. She's responding to incentives. If we change the incentive structure, she will respond differently. I'm not mad at her for that. That's a smart move. She should be doing that. It's our fault for having that kind of system in play. It shouldn't be, right? But we have it, and then we get mad at her. So there we go. All right, 99 says, would you look to remove minimum lot size as part of the no zoning plan? I'm not sure that will be the right answer, right? I'm not, because I don't know about how local people would feel about that. I don't want to end localism. I don't want to end localism, because you could run up with spots that are so low that doesn't make any sense, right? You could. So I'm not married to either one of those two. I'd be open at a local level. I just want to end zoning. Let local people decide how they want to make things happen. So 99 goes on to say, also the housing talk brings up behavior of powerful multinationals like Blackstone and BlackRock. What can be done at a state level about the type of anti-competition, anti-consumer behavior? 2 parts I mentioned. Encourage them to do rent to own. Right? That's number one thing. Encourage rent to own. As you know, most of these multinationals, they're just buying up stuff and renting because it makes sense to take the rents. They didn't take the rents and they turn those rents into some type of derivative or whatever they do, and they sell that and blah, 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 right? So if we give them a reason, incentive to do rent to own, it's better, number one. But number two, if we get them to follow what Phil was talking about, and we get them to do some of those where they still make money, but they do it for certain communities, they can use that for marketing. You might go, does Blackstone care about marketing? It does. Does BlackRock care about marketing? It does. You're saying it already. Powerful multinationals. They sound terrible. Well, they would like to sound good, wouldn't they? So you know what? Put together a housing project for veterans, for single moms. See, BlackRock cares, 99. Blackstone cares about you and the community. Isn't that awesome? That is absolutely wonderful marketing for them. So give them that too. I think it also works. But thirdly, if you notice, I talked about starting the New York State Trust, the NIST. The New York State Trust is a place these multinationals put money into. That money will keep coming back. They get dividends. They put money in and they get dividends. The New York State Social Trust pays dividends. If it pays dividends, they will want to be in it because it's that ongoing cash, right? The ongoing cash from rentals is the reasons why they do it. Well, now if they have a dividend, they now have ongoing cash for that. So the New York State Trust gets them to want to put their money there, number one. So it pulls some of the money out of the speculation. It's not really speculation, out of the real estate market because they're getting the rents, right? So they can get it instead from New York Social Trust instead, option one. Option two, incentivize them to rent to own, helps out people getting ownership. So we can do both. So yes. Phil says, Larry, my house will be illegal to build. I have 3-bedroom, 1 bath, 850 square feet, built in 1927. Wow. Regulations make it uneconomical to build a house under 1,000 square feet. And it would take 7 years to build on top of it. So yes, absolutely. Phil says, are they still buying up houses? I thought they were selling up houses. The second piece, Phil, you are correct. Most people don't know this. Our governor has decided that she's now going to stop these multinationals from buying up all the properties. Well, too late. They are now dumping the properties. Most people don't know that. They're dumping because they're just seeing it. There is a housing bubble in America. How do we know that? They're dumping houses. So now, are they still buying some? They are. They're still buying some, but much less. There was I think at the height, if I'm not mistaken, it was some crazy number, like 20% of all new purchases were like from a private equity firm or something huge like that. Now it's like 4% or something like that. It's much, much lower. So they are selling off houses. They are stopping to buy houses. They're not buying as many houses too, because they know that the housing bubble is happening. So they're just dumping them. They're dumping them. It's also harder to buy houses now because of the interest rates. Interest rates aren't as attractive as they used to be. So they have to buy outright cash, which again, they do, right? That's the advantage. The advantage that these guys have is they have cash. So if Phil says, I want to buy this house, I'm going to get a mortgage. Then BlackRock walks and goes, I got cash. They go, oh, we'll take cash. Just done. So yeah. All right. 99 says, my understanding is that they buy up entire communities and only rent them out. Yes, that's my point. You have to get them to do rent to own, then I don't care. Rent to own, I don't care. Let them do it. So yes. Phil goes on to say, if builders can save 8% on sales tax, that's an 8% savings in the building costs. I think taxes end up being a big driver of costs. Well, yes, but worse is going to be your actual income tax. How capital gains tax works in New York State for this, it's just income tax. So you just get hammered at whatever the income tax is. They hammer your income tax. That's how New York State works. So you're paying income tax on it. And then federal level, you're paying capital gains tax. So New York State can at least end that part. It's a big chunk they'll lose. So yes. All righty. The follow-up check says, I almost forgot to mention, I sent up a while ago to volunteer, but didn't see anything in my inbox. Sure enough, I checked today and found emails from Larry Sharpe in my spam box. Point in case, check spam. Thank you. Yes, please check your spam box, guys. If you sign up, we do care. Absolutely. We do care. We're trying to make this work. So yeah, we are trying to work on it here. Missy says, I don't know why our emails are going to spam, but they go to my spam for me too. Yes, they are going to. I've been telling my team this, and they keep telling me it's not true. Yet people keep telling me it is true. So if you're listening, team, it's true. It's going into spam. Whatever that means. I'm not sure what that means, but it does mean that. So yes, I appreciate that. So I do want to bring up the next piece if I could. Why are we punishing landlords? Landlords are owners. What you hear me talk about all the time is how do we fix our neighborhoods? How do we fix our communities? It is the concept of ownership. We have to go into an ownership mindset. This is why you hear me talk about small business owners. This is why you hear me talk about licensing, right? It's why you hear me talk about if you're a local business owner being immune from federal regulatory bodies. Why do I keep bringing this up? because owners matter. If you remember, some of you know, in the beginning of America, to be a voter, you had to be a landowner. Yes. You might go, Larry, that sounds terrible. I'm not saying I want to go back to that. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is the mindset even back then was if you are an owner, you have a vested interest in the community. Now, it doesn't mean if you're a renter, you're not. I'm not saying that. But even they saw the value in people having ownership. The American dream wasn't, I can rent a cool place in New York City. The American dream was, I could own a house someplace. I could own a car. Ownership, ownership, ownership. Maybe I could start a business. Ownership, right? That was the entrepreneur. That was the sexy thing that America was supposed to be. The farmer who's on his or her own and fixing things on their own. Again, ownership. Ownership is a critical piece. The problem is most people believe they're never going to be able to own. And I get that because in many cases, they are correct. We have to change that. We have to make people want to have ownership. And the thing that I bring up constantly, I've told this many times, and I'll keep bringing this up. When I grew up in the South Bronx as a kid, I grew up in the South Bronx. There was I never forget this. I'll tell the story, but I love the story. It's my first time understanding inflation. Didn't know what inflation. I was like 8. I don't remember 7. I was a little kid, elementary school. And I remember I used to go down to the pizza place right around the corner in the South Bronx, a place that was called Joe's Pizza. Joe was born in Italy. He had come over and started a pizzeria, and his family ran it. Him and his family ran it. And I went to Joe's Pizza. And pizza was 40 cents a slice. God damn it, I'm old. It was 40 cents a slice. And when I went to get my pizzas one day, I gave him 50 cents. I was ready to get my dime back. And he gave me a nickel back. And I went, what? No, you made a mistake, right? It's a nickel. You got to give me a dime back. Pizza's 40 cents. He said, no, it went up. I said, what? It went up. No, prices don't go up. That's not a thing. Pizza's 40 cents. That's what it is. What's wrong with you? Pizza is 40 cents. And he's like, no, it's 45 cents. He gave me a nickel back. I was devastated by this. Like, no, because I had planned where my 10 cents was going to go. I had planned. So I went home to complain to my parents, and they were like, yep, welcome to inflation. I was like, no. I think I was libertarian when I was 7. Anyway, my point being, that was my first piece, right? Why? Because Joe's Pizza was run by Joe. Joe lived in the Bronx. He did. When Joe retired, he gave it to his daughter, Paula. It became Paula's Pizza. Wonderful. She ran the joint. She was wonderful. Loved her pizza too. Great. Family recipe. No problem. Thought it was awesome. Right? All good. Now it's a Subway. The guy who owns it lives in Connecticut. Yes. There's no more ownership. Ownership in these small neighborhoods made it real. Ownership does matter. It makes you care. Ownership matters tremendously. Look, I'm looking over at Instagram, and the one and only Maddie is there. She says, hi, Larry. Hey, Maddie. Always wonderful to see you. Glad you are rocking and rolling on Instagram. And I'm yapping away, as always. I'm sure you're shocked. So, yes. So I bring that piece up because if you remember, it was a very powerful thing that was said during the BLM riots. I forgot the woman's name. But when they were burning down a neighborhood, and a black woman was interviewed. And one of the people said, why are you burning down your own neighborhood? What's wrong with you? And she responded by saying, we don't own this shit. We don't own any of this. And while I'm not validating the violence, I'm addressing a specific issue, how people feel. They don't own anything. You hear all the time, they're burning down their own neighborhoods. They don't own it. They don't care. Why do you think you have that the meme of the Korean supermarket owners with the guns on the roof, right? Well, because they own that. Those Koreans own that. And you're going to take what they own, you're going to pay a price for that. That's not free. You're paying a price to take that. Well, when you don't own it, you don't care. I don't mean to be cruel. You see it all the time. Ownership matters. We should be making rules, regulations, laws that allow and encourage people to own. The more they own, the better. And not just that. Ownership gives you hope. right? I own something. Look, you buy one thing and go, I got this now. Now I can go buy the next thing. It shows you can have success. If I feel like I have hope, I will move forward. Someone was asking me the other day, saying, how do we get young people, young boys, young men to want to work? My answer was a simple answer. Give them hope. The young men have checked out. They're about, some of you know this, between 8 and 10 million, depending on who you talk to, men between the age of 24 and 50 have just checked out. They're done. They don't want a job. They don't want a relationship. They don't want a girlfriend. They don't want anything. They're going to stay around. They're going to live in their one bedroom with a roommate, and they got a subscription to whatever, Netflix or whatever. They do gig work, and they're done. They have checked out. They have no hope. They have no hope. And I said, why do you think all the migrants came? Well, AI is taking jobs, number one, but not just that. Young men aren't doing the work. They've given up. 10 million of them given up. Well, I got to fill it with something. So I bring migrants in. That's true. Again, not validating migrants, telling you why it's there. The migrant crisis wasn't a mistake. That was done on purpose. That wasn't an error. Done on purpose to fill this gap of the people who aren't working anymore. Why aren't they working? Because they're lazy bums. No, that's insanely dumb. Don't think that. Because they have no hope. Why bother? I'm never going to own a car. I'm never going to have a girlfriend I'm never going to have a relationship. I might have a girl who might hang out with me once in a while. That's it. I'm never going to have a relationship. I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have children. I'm never going to own a house. So what the fuck am I working for? It sounds horrible, but it's true. Ask those men. They will tell you that. Why? What am I working for? I'm never going to have a relationship. I'm never going to have kids. I'm never going to have a home. I'm never going to have anything. Why work? I'll stay at home, live in my, universe that I have with my friends online, play video games, be super cool guy on my video games, hang out with my bros. Why bother? What am I working for? What am I working for? Give these men hope and you will see them work. Give the women hope, you'll see them work too. I'm saying men because most of the labor force is that we're worried about now is physical labor, which is heavily male dominated, right? There are women in it too, obviously, but it's heavily male dominated. So when they work out, if they take off, got to bring in migrants. Why do you keep hearing them say, well, all these people coming to America, they're all military age men? Yes, but that isn't the point. What they actually are is working age men. So they really are, right? I mean, military too, but they're really working age men. And that's the point. So anyway, I appreciate it. Let me grab some more comments if I can. E6022 says, skin in the game matters. Correct, my friend. Absolutely true. Correct. Phil says, go west and homestead. That's what we were doing. John says, my email is something to go to junk and not spam. I would like that checked. I still check regardless because I have important emails show up there. There we go. Junk and not spam. Maybe they consider me junk. Now I'm junk. Look at that. Look at that, Maddie. I'm junk now. What happened? Anyway, E6022 says, when takers are deciders, they decide to take. When takers are deciders, then decide to take. Oh, got it. Okay, that's for voters. Yeah. Well, this has been an issue they've been worried about for a long time, right? People have been talking about this for 100 years, right? And that's how this is. There are many reasons why I'm against UBI, but one of the biggest reasons what you just said. I'll walk down the UBI road for a second because of what you just said. When it comes to UBI, conceptually, I understand it, right? I get the idea. The idea is if you have one amount of money coming out every month to everybody, then there is literally no bureaucracy, right? Because no one is means tested. It doesn't matter who you are. It's the check goes out to everybody every month. There's no need for any of the bureaucracy. It all goes away. I get that concept. Like conceptually, I can understand that completely. I see why people would like that. I see why some libertarians will look, it's a whole lot cheaper. The money's going out anyway, but now there's no bureaucracy. There's no salaries. All that goes away. Then those buildings, we save a ton of money. I get the concept. If I believe that would actually happen, I might be more open to it. I might be. I mean, there's an argument to be made is what I would say. But I think if you do anything, to your point, 60-20, that's not going to happen. Because once Congress people recognize or Assembly recognize that I can just get a constituency to vote for me if I promise them some extra goodie, that's going to happen. So let's say magically we create this magic UBI. It's fantasy, obviously, but we're doing a theoretical, chat right now. We do this right now. UBI happens. All the bureaucracy is gone. It does work. It's exactly the way it's supposed to work. Bureaucracy's gone. Everybody gets a check every month. Life is great. Look at how much money we saved. Everyone's getting a check. See how good things are? Well, some congressman goes, hey, I'm in trouble. I'm going to get elected. I think that if you're a veteran, you shouldn't get whatever, $2,000 a month, whatever the number. I made the number up, right? Whatever it is. You should get $2,200 because $200 because you're a veteran. And veterans go, that's a great idea. And they all rush to him. And then people who are patriotic, yeah. So they vote for that. So now veterans get $200. Well, then the next guy goes, yeah, but I think that if you're a single mom with 3 kids, not 2, only 3, you should get an extra $200. And if you're a veteran mom with 3 kids, not 2, you should get $400 or whatever, right? You should do that. And then that becomes a thing. Oh, no. But if you have 1 kid and you're married and boom, 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 and whatever. But if you have a business, but if you have a dog that you bought on a Thursday and a cat that you bought on a Tuesday, you should get $50. And boom, before you know it, bureaucracy's right back. And it's a whole massive thing. So, yeah. And then they'll add EBT again. Then they'll add, it will be a disaster. So, because deciders will decide to take. So I went really long down that road, but I get it. John says, I really wish I was in a better position physically because my landlord was selling and buying the complex. From her would have been life-changing and a way to help people in Central Square. Is your landlord still selling? Because if they are, if they're still selling, if it's already done, it's done. But if it's not done, maybe you should start trying to raise money for it. You can maybe raise money for it. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean you can't raise money for it. You can get other people get behind you. If she's still selling, it's doable. That's all I'm saying. If she's still selling, it's doable. If she's still selling, reach out to me. We can maybe make a way of you raising money for it. It's possible. Anyway, Luke says, hi. Hi, Luke. Good to see you. Tim says, my first experience with inflation was baseball cards in the 80s and early 90s. I thought they had value until Topps created more of them. Those cards are pretty much worthless now. Yeah. I was into baseball cards and I was into comic books. But for most of my time, knowing it, the prices were going up. But I get that. So John says pizza's now $3 to $5 a slice. I know. I'm aware. Yes. So K-Stone says, be kind, share this video and all of Larry's posts. She's right. You should do that. Listen to her. She is correct. Please share, guys, if you can. Repost this someplace if you're going to post it. I appreciate it. No matter what, though, click the button known as LIKE, Lima, India, Kilo, Echo. Please do that. Again, as I told you, I have to split everything because legally one is Larry Sharpe, one is Sharpe Way. It's crushed my marketing. My marketing's cut in half. My viewership's cut in half. I can only market each one separately, so it doesn't work as well. So I need extra help now. I know I always bug you. I'm bugging you more now. Share this out so I can keep growing. It is a pain. I get it. Make sure you're doing that, liking, reposting. And of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel or this page, wherever you're watching this, to make sure that also goes up. Make sure you are subscribed. It does matter. Also, just to be clear, if you want to see me in person, you can. You can come by this weekend in New York if you want to, if you'll be around. I've done over 700 of these. They're always live and they're always free. Come on by if you can. You can see me in person. This Friday, I will be in Binghamton at the Belmar Pub and Grill at 1 p.m. This Friday at 6 p.m., I'll be at Randy's Fireside in Olean, New York. This Saturday coming up, December 6th, 10 a.m., Brothers Restaurant and Bar in Buffalo, New York. 2:30, the Village House Restaurant in Albion. 7 p.m., Scoville's Grill in Dansville. Sunday, December 7th, yes, a day that will live in infamy. 10 a.m., Ashley Lynn Winery, some of you get that, in Waterloo. And 1 p.m. in Ithaca, the Ithaca Ale House. If you can come see me in any of those. Check out this on any of my social media, and you will be able to figure out where I'm going and what I'm doing. That poster is everywhere. You can check it out if you have time. I appreciate it. All righty here. Is there anything else I wanted to bring up? I think I did. I covered that piece. Okay. Yeah. I think I covered all those pieces. Good. Okay. So I did cover those. Make sure my team wants me to cover some things. I did cover them. So that's good. Let me go back to some more comments if I can. John says that this was a year and a half ago. So unfortunately, it's a done deal. Oh, too bad. Too bad. Yes. Mike says UBI has never worked. 10-year experiment in Kenya by MIT proves it does not work. No, I'm not a fan, Mike, but I'm just saying I understand the argument, right? I get the argument. If the argument is just to save bureaucratic money, which is some people's argument, right? They're not saying that the UBI actually helps the people, because the people who make the argument I'm making, those people are saying welfare in general doesn't work. But if we're going to have it, and I can't stop it from happening, this system is the cheapest system. That is their argument. So work depends upon how you're defining it. Are you saying work means the people are helped out? Yes. If you're saying money is saved, I'm not sure that's been proven yet, that you can have the same bad outcomes but spend less money, which again, that would be the worked in the environment I was talking about. Again, I'm being specific in that argument. In that argument, it's just, did you spend less money? And I'm not sure that has been solved yet. In theory, you do. Again, theoretically, you actually save money. You do the same bad outcome. The outcome doesn't change, right? What welfare does very well is keep you in the spot you're in. It's actually good at that, right? It does keep you in the spot that you're in. You tend to not get worse when you have welfare. Tend to. There's exceptions, obviously. It keeps you where you are. But I always thought that the concept of welfare or anything about public assistance was to get you to step up, right? I assumed that was the goal. I feel like now it kind of isn't. It's kind of like, okay, just don't die. Well, it's good at that. It is good at that. If the work is don't die, it does that. And if you want to have don't die for the cheapest amount of money, UBI may be what works. The question is, how do you define work? That's the issue. So yes. 6022 says UBI, but you are no longer a citizen. You become a U.S. national, no voting rights. Ooh. So you're saying if you get UBI, you don't vote. Interesting concept. So if you get UBI, you don't vote. I'm trying to think of what would be the outcome of that, right? What's the outcome of that? If we went down, I don't know how you legally do that. I mean, that would be an issue. That would have to be an amendment to the Constitution, right? Yeah, you'd have to do it with an amendment to the Constitution. I don't know how you do that. That's the only way to do it. You'd have to have an amendment to the Constitution. So you'd have to have an amendment that would say UBI is okay. And if you get UBI, you can't vote. That's a big ask. And I don't know how it would actually work. In other words, would it then mean that only the wealthy vote or the middle class and above vote? I mean, in theory, you might go, well, then that means, that's how it is with the ownership piece. Not necessarily. There are poor families who may own a home that's been in their house, in their family for a long time, own a farm. They would still have ownership. So I'm not sure. And then if the people who didn't have UBI were the ones voting, would they vote out UBI? Right? Right. So if everyone who voted was not getting UBI, where they go, well, we don't want to pay for UBI, so we're going to vote against it. So we're going to vote so that you don't get UBI. Then what would happen? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's an interesting concept. I'm not sure that would work. So, all righty. Nico says, I'm a full-time college student, dad, and I can only work part-time. So it definitely is helping me. Yes, but the point is that the generally speaking, public assistance was meant for that. Like, that's what it was meant for. It was meant for, like, there's a single mom who got divorced or lost her husband or was widowed, and she has to get back on her feet in some way, shape, or form. Whether back in the day, she might have to find the husband, but nowadays she just go work if she had to, right? But back in those days, probably you had to find the husband just because women weren't working back then. Well, they were, but not as much. So maybe you get the job, maybe you'd find the husband, maybe you would move in with your family, whatever. There'd be some way of getting you back on your feet was the concept. You were really down and out. You had come back from the war and you were in trouble mentally. So it was for that kind of thing. If you're using it for that, then it's working for you. That's what it was supposed to happen. You go to college or whatever, you do your thing, you get yourself set so that you won't need it anymore, right? That's what it's supposed to be. I'm not sure, right? He goes on to say, how about you only get it when you're working towards upward mobility? How do you measure that? How do you measure that? That sounds good, but how does one measure that? This is the concept of the negative income tax, which is what I'm a fan of. Of all the UBI schemes, the best scheme of the UBI schemes is the negative income tax, which is as you work, you gain money, but you lose some of your stipend. And it's 50%. What do I mean by that? Your stipend is $1,000. I'm making those numbers up. 1,000 every month, you get $1,000. If you then go get a job and make $500, $250 of that is removed from your stipend. So you would get a stipend of $750 plus your $500. You'd make $1,250. So you'd make more money. So as you make more money, half of that comes down. So once you're making, $2,000, whatever that number is, right? 1,000 comes off. Once you make $2,000, you no longer get any more stipend. But there's not a cliff. Right now we have benefit cliffs. I make enough money and boom, I get nothing. And I'm trashed. I get nothing. Why would I make more money? I go from this to nothing. This type of UBI, you can work your way off. And that is how you would know you're doing it, right? Because your stipend will be going down. So if you had a negative income tax, you could track it. You would say you expect everyone's stipend to go down, once a year, every 6 months, whatever. You could track it. So you get your UBI, your negative income tax, again, whatever, $2,000 a month, whatever that number is. I'm making the number up. And if you start working, the number will come down a bit, right? Because if you make $100 a month, now it's down $50. So you're making $1,950 every month. So as long as your number is coming down every year, every month, whatever, however you track it, then you would see, okay, I'm working towards up mobility. That would work. Which is why, again, as the UBIs go, negative income tax is the best of the UBI schemes. So if I had to pick a UBI, it'd be that one. That's the one I would pick up if I had to. So yes. All righty. Lunari says, Larry, if a landlord was doing a rent-to-own home situation, is there a tax incentive that you could add if you were governor to make that more enticing? Yes. At one point, he has to make the sale. When the landlord makes the sale, no tax on the sale. That's what it will be. The landlord will make no tax on the sale. And now, if that person is going to, for those of you who know, if you're going from your own home to another home, very often you can get off with not paying taxes. You're going from your own owned home to your own primary residence. You could add this to investment properties as long as it's going rent to own. You could do that. Yes, absolutely. So you could do that so that you would gain the same tax incentive as if it is your own property if you went rent to own. Yes, you could do that. Absolutely. Mike says, welfare states meant to enslave the dependent to a political party, not become independent. Then it's working perfectly, isn't it, Mike? It is working then. Done. I would say it's working as planned. Nicely done. Working as planned. Yes. All righty. Let's see if we can do that. Yumir says, Larry Sharpe for governor of New York. Thank you. Yes. Mastermind says, it's like saying that making only homeowners voters will cure homelessness. Yeah, I'm not sure. I get the idea. I get the concept. I'm not sure it works. Right. I'm not against some form of rule in theory. The practice implementing is the problem, Mastermind. Am I against somehow saying you vote if you do X, Y, or Z? I'm not against it theoretically. The question is, how do you put it into place, right? How do you make it fair? How do you make it real? Someone would have to show me a scheme that I think could actually work. I feel like every scheme is going to be broken. That's just a feeling I have. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is a scheme that could work, and I'm open to it if you could find one. It feels like it can't be done, Mastermind. Well, again, I haven't walked down that road. It hasn't been something that I've cared about much, to be forward with you. Maybe I could walk down that road and come up with a plan. I don't see it. That's what I would say. I don't see it. It feels like it wouldn't work, but I'm open to someone showing me a plan that would actually work, that you could do it and it would make sense. I'm open to hearing it. That's what I would say. I'm open to hearing it. Larry says, Larry, I liked UBI when Yang was talking about tying it to your data mining. This piece I like too. Let me explain why. I want a different type of UBI. Let me explain what I mean by this. UBI right now is tied to taxation. That to me is unacceptable. If you tie it to something else, I'm okay with it. Let me give you a couple of examples. Alaska. Alaska has a type of UBI. What do I mean? They have a sovereign fund that is tied directly to their oil. So as they sell oil every year, Alaska writes a check to their own people, like about $1,000 a year or something like that, to every Alaskan resident. Here's your money. You're an Alaskan. We sold oil. Here's your check. It's kind of UBI. If you link it to something like that, I'm not mad at it, which is why I like the idea of actually linking it to, this will be data mining, but to energy. Nuclear power plants, people are often afraid of. So at the county level, as you build nuclear power plants, you make the nuclear power plants in the counties agree to it, to have nuclear power plants in their counties, you make them co-ops for the counties. So every county resident, you make the rules on the resident, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, whatever the residency rule is, you make those rules, is now a co-op member, owner of that nuclear power plant. So they basically, because that nuclear power plant, a lot of it will be used for data mining, for Bitcoin mining, all that stuff, data centers, of course it will be used for that, right? So they're paying for the energy. The energy comes in, and a certain cut, whatever that is, goes back to the people. That kind of UBI, I'm fine with. I'm fine with, because you're putting up with a nuclear power plant in your area. I'm okay with that. I'm good. And you're getting paid for it. That kind of UBI, I'm fine. And it's your best interest to make sure that power plant's working, to make sure the people around it are satisfied, to make sure it's all going. Yes, I don't mind at all. I don't mind at all. So yes, that kind of UBI I'm actually fine with. So I think something like that could work. John says, I think he is possibly alluding to people on some kind of welfare program not voting, possibly because they have a horse in the race because of their welfare assistance. Yeah, I'm not sure it works. I get what he was saying. I'm not sure it works. Yeah, I'm not sure. So Super Weapon says, how do you handle the national security issues on power plants? We have them now. What's the problem? What am I missing? I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? On nuclear power plants? Well, if you go through thorium, they can't melt down. I'm not making that up. China, I think, is about 5 or 10 of them already. They don't melt down. It's impossible. So there isn't really that big of a issue of that kind of thing happening for nuclear power plants in that regard. You mean like them shutting down or something? We have the problem right now. Our grid is ready to be destroyed. The way you can fix that, sadly, is the same way you do with nuclear power. I'm sorry, nuclear weapons. What I mean by that is nuclear weapons right now. Why do we not nuke each other? Because we'll nuke each other. It's called mutual assured destruction. Mutually assured destruction. MAD, right? That's why we won't do it, right? Otherwise, we'd have nuked them already, right? They nuke us already. We'll nuke each other. We're all affected by it. We want to have it to where if they strike our grid, we can destroy their grid. This is why AI, for those of you who hate AI, I know some of you do, and you think we have to get out there and make sure that we stop AI or whatever. We're not stopping AI. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. AI is basically a weapon system. Once AI figures out how to destroy someone's economy, which it will if it hasn't already, if we can't destroy their economy immediately, they would just destroy ours. Of course they would. Imagine if China right now could press a button and just trash her economy with some AI bot or whatever the thing is. I made that up, whatever. They can't, but imagine if they could. They would do it. Of course they would. Well, what would stop them? We do it back to them immediately, right? So they trash our economy, we trash theirs. Mutual assured destruction. That's how you have to fix it. That's the issue. So the actual power plants themselves, I'm not concerned, right? So he goes to cyber attacks. Yeah, then we'll cyber attack theirs. It's mutually assured destruction. That's the issue. If they did ours, we do theirs. That's how you fix it, right? So let's say someone goes in and trashes a power plant. They can do it now. Same technology would use, the same defense you'd have, no change. No change. Remember, if you're doing thorium, there's no chance of a meltdown. All that would happen is you'd have a broken power plant, which would suck. Who would want a broken power plant, right? But you could break a power plant now. You just go break our power plants now. The coal ones, the oil ones. We have a hydro plant in upstate New York. You could trash that one if you wanted to. You can still do it. Same security, no change. So it's not different. So Osmond says, yes, nuclear power, especially new safer thorium reactors. Yep, but even the crappy old ones. I just want to do thorium because super weapons point is very valid if it's the old style. His point is less valid if it's the new ones, right? It just becomes another power plant, which again would suck if someone got rid of it, but they can get rid of those now. If we build enough of them, right? And my goal would be to build dozens of them in New York State eventually, then you'd have, and if you make three separate, my perfect world super weapons is we have dozens of them on three separate grids. Yes, that's my goal. Dozens on three separate grids. At that point, it becomes so expensive and so hard to knock our grid down that people wouldn't do it because it wouldn't make sense. They'd rather go someplace else. They'd rather go knock Texas down or something, right? They wouldn't do ours because it wouldn't make sense, not because they wouldn't want to. It'd be so much easier. That's the issue. That's why I'd rather have multiple ones. So he goes, Skynet, but wouldn't this become a proliferation issues? Same beef Oppenheimer had. Just curious. The meltdown I know isn't much of an issue. This is assuming we're not using it. Yes, correct. No, I don't think, again, if you have multiple grids, more tougher for a Skynet. Again, if a Skynet's going to happen, it's going to happen. I know people don't like AI. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. We can hate it if we want to, be mad at it. The way we get around this is we have to have, without question, ownership of these things. If this part, Yang was 100% correct. In this part, he's 100% correct. Yang was talking about this being our data, our information. Why can't we get something from it? True. Absolute true. Yes, that's true. I don't like his UBI plan, but he's right on that. That part is true. So why can't we make sure that we have co-op ownership of all of this power? So now we're worried about whatever, Oppenheimer, the people can shut it down, can stop it, can decide not to sell to these people or to sell to these people, right? Or to say, if you do this or do that, we want to cut, right? So now at least if you're going to take my stuff, I'm at least getting paid for it. I'm getting something. Not just that, I care about security. This was my other point. Why do I care about security? The odds of something going wrong at a nuclear power plant when the local people have ownership goes down. Why? Because what has stopped every single time we've stopped a terrorist attack, it's been stopped by one thing. Not security, doesn't work. Not the cops, doesn't work. Not FBI, doesn't work. They drop the ball all the time. When we've stopped them, it's always been the same thing. A vigilant population. Individual people would see something, say something, is actually how we stop it. Well, now this is literally my power plant. I'm getting paid off it. I'm helping to pay my bills off this power plant. And I see somebody doing something shady. Oh, I'm stopping. I'm calling the cops. I'm getting security. How do I know that? That's how we stopped the bomber here, the subway bomber here in New York City. Someone saw it. Times Square bomber. We saw him. Someone said, wait a minute. No. Called. Stopped him. When we stopped, we did it for 9/11. FBI dropped the ball. 9/11 people, the guys called, the FBI said, these guys are learning how to fly planes, but don't care about how to land. I'm not joking. Local people said something's wrong. FBI dropped the ball. Well, if it's local sheriff is also getting paid off this. You call the sheriff and go, I think some shady guy's doing something over the power plant. The sheriff's over there with his boys. That's happening. So I think you actually could do that, right? I think you lower the odds if you have more ownership. I go back to ownership again and again and again. Yes. 622 says, Thorium Larry, the candidate for the future. Yes. 100%. Yes. I completely agree. So, yeah, I appreciate these tremendously. Guys, I'm going to ask you one more time, if we could, do me a favor, click the button known as like. But not just that. This is also, as you know, this is also a fundraiser. I am still trying to raise money to make sure that we can move this forward. I need you guys to help out. If you haven't donated yet, go donate. LarrySharpe.com/donate. Give what you can. If you can give, if you say, Larry, I love you so much, I'm going to give you a cup of coffee every single day. Awesome. Cup of coffee every day. It's $100 a month. Give me $100 a month if you can. Larry, I don't love you that much. I'll give you a cup of coffee a month. Okay, cup of coffee a month. That's $5 a month. Awesome. Larry, I can go in between. I give you a cup of coffee every week. Good. $25 a month. $25 a month is wonderful if you can do that. Please do so, whatever you can. If Larry, I've already donated, awesome. Instead, get your friend to donate. Remember, for me to get matching funds, I don't just need $500,000 total. I also need 5,000 donors also. So if you've already donated, get your friend to donate. Get his name on my list. Get her name on my list. Your wife, your girlfriend, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your grandma, your grandpa. Get their name on my list. Say, hey, do me a favor. Give Larry Sharpe $10. Give Larry Sharpe $5. Do that. It does matter. Every one of those do matter. So please do that if you can. It does matter. Please do so. If you want to pick up something, go over to LarrySharpe.com/shop. Pick up a shirt, a hoodie, a cup, whatever you want. Please do that. And wear it if you have it. I appreciate it. Lastly, become a volunteer. We need you. I need more people to show up, more people to volunteer. It really does matter. If you can, please do so. I appreciate it. And you will see me coming out this weekend. Appreciate it. So I'm looking over on Instagram, and Gunner says, Larry, you the man. Thank you, my friend. I'm doing my damnedest to make this work. You see me doing the work, guys. I'm out there hustling. I'm out there meeting people. I'm doing all the stuff that I possibly can. So yes, I'm trying very much. Andrea says, Larry, if we take down the barriers of entry, how will the grifters going to survive? Please think of the grifters. I am thinking of them, Andrea. Here's my answer. If you want to grift, I'm not mad at you. There's plenty of states that love grifters. Jersey loves grifters. So does California. So if you want to go West Coast, go to California. If you don't, go to Jersey. They love grifters. So look, I'm not mad at you grifters. Just don't grift here. See, there's places to grift, Andrea. I'm not a cruel governor. I'm not. Go grift someplace else. No worries whatsoever. There we go. Mike says, it's the holiday season, and donating $5 to $25 is likely the cheapest gift, and it gives back to you. It does. And let me jump on that. Thank you for that, Mike. If you were someone who decided to support the Democrat or Republican in 2018, what you did was you threw your money away, threw your time away. You did. Why? The Republicans no longer here, didn't win, no longer here. Democrats not even here anymore. Cuomo's gone. So you got nothing. You got nothing. You threw your money, your time, and your vote in the garbage. If you supported me in 2018, I'm still here. I'm still traveling. I'm still giving up ideas and fighting to make this place work and to fix this state. You made an investment in 2018. How about 2022? You gave your money, your time, your vote to the Republican or Democrat. You threw your money away. Kathy Hochul's a disaster, worse than Cuomo in many ways. You guys see it. And if you vote for the Republican, he's gone. He's not around. He's done. He doesn't do anything. He lost. Didn't do anything either. Nothing. Put your time, money, and voting to me. That was an investment. I'm still here trying to fix things, get things done. I'll repeat that this time. In 2026, if you put your time, your money, your energy, your vote into a Democrat Republican in New York State in 2026, you have thrown your vote away. There is zero chance of Elise Stefanik winning. Let me say it again. Zero. If you think there's any chance, you are either delusional or you're lying. One or the other. One or the other. There is zero chance. Zero chance. Larry, your chance is more. Yes, my chance is more. How do I know that? Because I look at New York City, and the Republican in New York City, who I know and I like, got 7% of the vote. 7. The Republican was the spoiler. In New York State, only 23% of registered voters are Republicans. 23%. Republicans are the third largest party in the state. It's Democrats, Independents, Republicans. Zero chance of winning. Zero. And she's doubling down on how much she loves Trump. If you live in Oklahoma, good deal. You should do that. You live in Nebraska, well done. Please do that. That's amazing. You live in New York, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Now, New York Republicans still like Trump. They do. If you're not a Republican in New York, you don't like Trump. That's how that works in New York. You don't. If you want to actually make something happen and you're Kathy Hochul, you're going to start trying to reach your hand out to Democrats, to independents. She's not. Only I am. Only I am. I'm the one talking about fiscal responsibility while talking about co-ops. That's literally Democrat and Republican linked together, hand in hand. Hand in hand. Who else is talking about that? Nobody. The state will go independent before it will go red. That's true. If you put your time and energy into me, it's an investment. So Mike is correct. Please follow what Mike is talking about. Do that. Thank you for that, Mike. Larry says, Larry, I was at a meeting where some people in the know were talking about Fort Drum receiving federal money to pay for the nuclear power plant. So Hochul gets photo op and we get squat. Yes. Now Hochul all of a sudden now is talking nuclear. She's the one who wants to shut it all down. I was talking about it. She realizes there's no other chance. It is the only way. Yes. It's the only way. Yes. D says, some of these people think Stefania can win. Listen to Republican propaganda all day. Trust me, I got done monitoring a live stream with nothing but that being talked about in the chat. Yes, they are fooling themselves. It is impossible. There is zero chance. Impossible. It will never happen. It is a fantasy. But let's talk about it. So yes. So Shelley says, Stefania's district is not going to vote for her because of all her failed promises, which is why she's not running again. Same with Zeldin last time. Zeldin was going to lose, so he'd stopped. Oh, I'm going to lose my seat. I'll run for governor and grift. Yes. Thank you, Shelley. Same thing. 6022 says, the Republicans in New York will always betray you. True. True. Osmond goes on to say, free Dexter Taylor too. Yes, I will pardon Dexter Taylor literally day one. I will pardon Dexter Taylor literally day one. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So, guys, again, if you don't mind, I know I asked because I want this to grow. Remember, after this live is over, please come back and comment. And here's what I want you to comment on. What do you think, just your physical opinion of your actual opinion on the rents in general? Why are they high? Are they high? Wherever you live, it's fine. If you live in New York, don't live in it, doesn't matter. Comment about the rents. Are people paying them? Are they not paying them? They're going up, they're going down. Are people doing the roommate thing? Are they living with their parents? What's going on? Please tell me about the rent where you are. Remember, if you watch this, it's not live. You are going to see two videos pop up. Please watch one of them right away. Mr. Rhythm loves that. Go Rhythm loves that. Guys, I'll be out there. I showed you already where I'm going to be going. Please come by my social media. See if you can see me this weekend. I will see you all